Hi, Josh here. I want to share with you a model called Scan, Focus, and Act. And what this model does is it really frames and shapes a client engagement. It's going to save hundreds of hours on not only the scoping process, but also delivering really, really important workshops. So, Scan, Focus, and Act comes from a group called Matt and Gail Taylor, MG Taylor for short, out of the States. They started these methodologies over 50, 60 years ago, and big consulting houses like Ernst & Young, Capgemini, KPMG, PwC, all the hallways I used to hunt, we would often use this model to help expedite work. And it's quite simple. So I'm going to share this with you today. It's called Scan, Focus, and Act. And the reason, if you think of it like a funnel, right? So usually, let's say for simple numbers, I'm a simple guy, so we'll use simple numbers. Say you have a client that has four objectives, or you yourself have a piece of work that you've got four objectives that you want to hit in a meeting. So traditionally, what we do is we'd cover the first and second topic or objective before lunch, have lunch, and then the last two after the day. Well, psychologically, we've learned that this doesn't make a lot of sense because what that forces our brains to do is go into an ideation, playful mode, and then into, well, what could we do about this? And then into action over and over again for each objective. And it's a super time killer. Makes meetings not only tough, but it makes them kind of boring because you feel like you've run multiple mental marathons to get to the point of what you're trying to achieve, which with every single objective. So what you do instead is at the beginning of your workshop and you're scoping your piece of work, you zoom out. All right, so you have to follow me on this, but you zoom out, and that's the first section. So again, you picture a big funnel, and at the opening of the funnel, the wider part, we'd say that's scan. So what are the broader, what's the broader world around the client problems that we're facing right now? So say if you're an airline and you're wanting to solve, it could be anything to do with baggage carrying expedition. So how do we make baggage carrying faster? A random example, probably not your space, but it is something we've worked on before. Typically what you want to do is go like, well, what are the processes? What are the systems? What are the softwares? What is the lag and downtime, et cetera? So really, really focus on the outcomes straight away. And in Scan, Focus, and Act, we say get out of the act and go into the scan. So what is the broader environments that the problem that you were working on exists? And that could be why psychologically do people not like waiting? What are some of the broader themes of travel? What's the emotional standpoint that people come from when they're traveling? And what are some other, and very importantly, what are some other environments that we can learn from as a model when it comes to working on our problem? That's really key. So it doesn't always have to be exactly in the world that you're working on, but what are some other things around other environments? I even ran one workshop for an Australian airline, and we used Genghis Khan's management principles as a model of a different way that things were run. It's quite silly. Clearly, we're not trying to learn from Genghis Khan, but what we're doing is just stretching our minds out a little bit and going, actually, what are other environments that we can learn from that might be kind of interesting to the problem that we're working on right now? So that's the scan. So you could read articles from books, you can use your ChatGPT friends, you can use Google, you could find any other kind of examples for modeling around the type of problem that you might be facing right now. Okay, so just learn something different that might be loosely relevant to what you're working on. So that's scan. And as you go down a little bit, then you move into focus. So again, scan, focus, and act. So then you move into focus. And focus says, if anything was possible, what could we do, right? So a great way to put yourself in focus is a model called backcasting. So what you do is instead of being here in today's date and looking forward at the problem or issue or awareness that you're trying to fix, because what that does is it creates risks and barriers, because that's how we're designed to behave as humans. So rather, what you do is you put yourself after it and go, okay, well, if anything was possible, what if the problem I'm trying to solve by next year, what if I put myself in the year after? What if I put myself 12, 13, 14 months ahead of now, and imagine what it looked like if it was a massive success? Like, really describe it. What are people saying about you? Who's people are reaching out, women and men are reaching out to you from all over the world to say, oh my gosh, you are doing amazing at this thing, whatever your problem is. You're now doing amazing. What are the steps that you took to get here? Right, that's super important. What are the things that you had to sacrifice now that you're a success? So we're not talking about, these are the things I'm going to have to do. These are the things that I did from a future scenario of success, right? So what are the things that you had to sacrifice? What were the key behaviors that you had to stop, start, and continue in order to become the success that you are? And what almost derailed you, what almost took you off course, but you overcame it? Right? So you ask yourself those questions, or ask your clients those questions, or your team, in the focus section, because then you start to get these answers of, well, actually, what we had to sacrifice was, that we're working with that additional team. Again, if we're using the airline baggage thing, like, we use split teams, and we realized actually we all had one culture. We had one set of systems and processes that we used, and then kind of joining with that other group. No offense to them, but it just turned out that wasn't as beneficial as we thought that it was. For an example, it could be anything. And believe me, you will come up with loads of different things because you're being playful. You're in this focus, like anything could happen space, and then peel back from that and you realize, actually, these are the things that I can work on, especially those first two questions. What did I have to sacrifice to get here now that I'm a success in the future? The second, what are the key behaviors that I or we had to stop, start, or continue? Or no, sorry, not or continue, and continue. So it's important that all three of those are there, because it tells the team, tells yourself, there's some things I need to knock it off. Right? Some of my behaviors, some of the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, some of the things I have now aren't going to be super helpful. There's some things I need to stop doing. Or there's some behaviors that I need to enlist, I need to actually start doing. But also, very importantly, especially if you're working with your team, there's a lot of things you need to continue doing, and people need to be able to see that around you, that you're willing to continue doing some things. It's not always a part of stopping and starting. There's a lot of good things happening to continue. So list those out. So now we're moving down in that final part, act, right? So we've gone through scan, the broader world, different models, different insights of context around the thing that we're trying to solve. Focus, if anything could happen, what would we do? And to do that, you put yourself in that future state of scenario of success, like I just mentioned. And then the third thing is, now that you've kind of had your mind quite big on the problem that you're working at, air quotes, because sometimes problem isn't the right word, but the thing you're working on. And then you go down into focus, and you're starting to pull out, well, these are actually some of the things that we get to work on, because these are the things we discussed we need to sacrifice. These are the behaviors that we know we need to bring into life. And you can put your own questions in there as well, like what were the software systems, or what were the technology tools and processes around us that we did end up using? Well, actually, we ended up going with this one, and that one made sense. When you operate from that future perspective, you're able to be a lot more playful, and playful allows you to be a lot more real and kind of trick your mind in a way to come up with the things you really need to be working on. So then you get to act, and then you just make a list of all the things that you discussed in focus and say, well, these are the things that we know we need to do. Actually, if we want to get to that future state scenario of success, if we want to become the team, the client, we want to unpack these issues that we're working on right now in the future, these are the core things that we've got to start working on. So That's the scan, focus, and act model. I'm really keen to hear what you think about this. If you've used something similar, if you have any different ideas on that, feel free to drop them in the comments. But this has been a lot of fun sharing these daily ideas with you, and I hope the scan, focus, act model helps you and your clients save time.